Good morning and welcome to This Week on the Homestead. I hope you're having a blessed day and appreciate you tuning in. This week on the Homestead, I was going to show you a few of our newest baby calves we've got. It's still a little too wet and a little early for me to get into the garden. I don't have a video on it, but I have let my chickens out for a little bit to eat out. I think the eggs are the best when they can free range, but during the cold part of the winter, around February, first part of March, you got to be real careful. Here we have a lot of bald eagles, and we also have a lot of just hawks and coyote mating season. So we have a lot of varmints that want to try to get your chickens. Everything loves chickens, but I've been able to let them out the last couple or 3 days. I've let them out some. Had to make sure and lock them up at night. They're laying pretty good. I've got a light on them. I was going to show you a little bit of update here in a minute on our hay pasture. And I also sowed some of my calves this week. You may have seen me. I've been feeding them. I had 15 of them, and I sowed 7 of them. 2 of them was heifers and 5 steers a week ago Wednesday. And the reason I sowed just part of them is so muddy here we can't get a big trailer into the lot. So we took a little trailer that we had that we can get in and out. I got to redo my lot one day and fix it where I can load them up anytime. I'm going to put one out by the road where I can back up there no matter how bad the weather is and load up one. I've also sold 2 cows Saturday at a local sale barn here, but I don't know what they brought yet. Hopefully next week I'll remember and update you on what they, in fact, both of the cows would not rebreed. And I actually have had them ever since last fall or last spring, and so I've had them a year. I have fed them all the way through. That was a foolish thing for me to do. They're fat and nice, but they keep rebreeding every month, and they have never settled yet. So we took them. I had my son take them up to a cattle sale locally that's on Saturdays, and as open coil cows. So anyway, we'll see what they bring. I figure around 50 to 60 cents a pound is what I'm hoping for. My calves I sold brought average 700, over 700 a piece, like 718, 719, somewhere in that range. Don't remember exactly, but they brought over 700. I was hoping for at least 500. But I'll show you that in a video here in a little bit, what little update on that. And just show you a little bit here on the farm. This little old cow over here just calved, and I'll take you out. And she's got her number's 104. She's one of my better cows, and she's got a beautiful little steer calf there, and he's out of an Angus bull. She's a Simmental cross, and the bull is a Angus that we have out here, one we call BC, or because. And anyway, this is a cute little old calf here, and I can tell it's just 3 days old, I believe, but you can tell it's going to be a pretty good one. Here's a look at some of the other babies. This one here, the 38, was actually born in January, and its mama's a good one. This one over here was born in January. This 114 looking at us, he's a big steer. He's still out of that Brangus bull. So is this little 38 heifer here. She's out of the Brangus bull we had. And this is one of my last year heifers. It was out of the Brangus bull that I'm keeping. I've got 9 of these, and some of them have them little horns, but that's about as big as their horns ever get. And I have dehorned some in the past, but I didn't this year. This year I left them alone and thought I'd just see. But they're pretty gentle. They're Brangus, so they got a little vitality to them, and they love to eat. They're just like pigs, but I'm kind of I don't want them to get too roly-poly fat, but I want to keep them looking good. Here's another cow that calved a month or so ago. She looks much like that one I just showed you. But here's a little heifer out of cow 45. It was born in January, and it'll be a keeper heifer. I usually keep ones out of that cow. I got certain cows that are my favorites, and that's the one I try to keep. This cow here, her mama is a good one, and I kept her this year, this little heifer, and I won't let her with the bull probably until June or July. I want to let them grow a little bit more. She's over a year old now. This old cow here, I call her Maybelline. Her makeup didn't turn out quite right, and this little cow here will probably be Mascara or something. She's a little heifer I kept. This old cow here, Maybelline, she's one of my favorite cows, but she hates my cow dog, and she'll come running all the way across the pasture to greet him, and he's right over there right now, and if she sees him, there she goes. She's gonna get after him. She don't like that dog at all, and her baby is clear away over yonder. So, but she's still watching, just thinking she don't want him messing with her child. Here's another little heifer. This is her last year baby, and it's got that blaze face, and it trying to be a little bit of camera shy, I guess. But anyway, this 807, that's Maybelline's last year baby, and she is pretty gentle. She's acting a little bit skittish right now, but I think because my dog is up here, but sometimes she plays with that dog. And this is another one we kept. See them big old ears? They say they stay cooler, but this cow's mama is a white-colored, grayish-colored cow, and she's got big ears like that, and we call her Bunny. And we've kept all of her heifers. She's had 3 or 4 of them, and they sure are good, and that's going to be a good-looking little heifer this year. I'd say she probably weighs about 800 pounds, somewhere in that range, and I'd like to have them up another 100 or so pounds before I turn the bull in with them, let them get a little more growth on them. Here's another one of my late season. This one was actually born, I think, in November. It was kind of a mixed group here, so I've got it and its mama in here, and it's ready now. It could be weaned. I'll let it go a little bit longer, but it's turned out to be a nice looking steer. There comes another one of my little heifers. It's not quite as old as the rest of them, but it's coming right along. And anyway, there's just a little update on the cattle, and hope you enjoy. Got this GoPro hooked on a bucket here, and anyway, if it's a fit video, I'll show it to you. Might make you car sick watching it. Take you out here and show you my wheat pasture. I planted this back in September, and I let my heifers run on it all winter long. Didn't ever have to feed them any hay until lately, and I've got them in with my wet cows. but I did feed them right here, and they kind of made a mess right here where this little old spot is, but that's okay. As soon as I've got Bermuda grass mostly out here, but it don't do any good really until the end of May, 1st of June. Now it'll start sprouting before long and look pretty good, but it won't do much until later on. I love Bermuda grass, and boy, when it's hot and humid here in Oklahoma, that stuff will really grow. But I planted this wheat last fall, and I have had, I think, every deer in the county in here eating on it. They have really enjoyed this wheat. I need to put nitrogen fertilizer on it. I'm going to put some urea on it, but it's been so wet I was afraid my buggy would get stuck, and we've got several inches of rain coming this week, and I didn't want it to just wash it all away. Usually about the middle of March, and so we're coming up on that, so that's not no big deal. But I'll fertilize it, and it'll also help the other stuff that's coming along to sprout up and come on. But you can see how pretty and green this is, and I'll show you a comparable field over here where the cows are. That field's got some green, but it's not wheat, and it's just something else. But you can see all the wheat. About I think there's about 50 acres here I've got planted in wheat, and goes over across that creek and around. And anyway, I'm anxious to put the cows in on it, but I was trying to let it get a little bit of a head start on them. So it's coming out of dormancy, it's growing. I'll probably wait at least another week. I can tell a difference every day that it's growing. We've been getting rains and had a little light dusting of snow, and that sure seems like that helps sometime. The days have been getting warmer. We've not been getting below freezing. Right over here is a comparison. You can see that, what that looks like compared to what this looks like, and there's quite a bit of difference. Over there is where there's no wheat planted. Up in that corner, I couldn't get my no-till drill up in there without worrying about getting it hung up or turned over or something. So, but this is the wheat pasture here. Just a little update. The day I'm taking this today is the 11th of March. Is the day I'm taking this little video of the wheat pasture. And I'll probably turn the cows start in, I think, probably around the 20th of March, if nothing goes wrong. Just a little update on the wheat pasture. Well, I wanted to give you just a little bit of cattle farming tidbits of what I think about the ranching business right now, and give you my 2 cents worth or 20 cents worth or whatever. But do you remember back in 2013, 14, all of these seminars, cattlemen's associations, different things, was all talking about cattle confinement. That the next trend would be to raise your cattle, not just your feeders, but cow-calf pairs in confinement. And I notice now you're not hearing a whole lot about that, now that the cattle prices have dropped way back down. When I heard these videos, I thought, well, you guys, that's fine. You could feed your cow year-round without grazing them, and probably make it with the kind of prices we were getting when you were getting $1,800, $1,900 for a weaned calf. Well, man, I don't know how you kept from making money then. But I know there were guys that went broke during that time, so I don't know how they did, but they did. But now we're back down into the real world, and where your steers, you know, if you have, depending on the age group, but you know, if they bring $600-700 an animal, is pretty good, but you're going to have quite a bit in them. So I don't know how you could profitably come out on that. But that was just a little thought I had then. But everybody was like, things was never going to end. And I know people that went out and borrowed money and bought a whole bunch of cows, and 12, 13, 14 along in there, paid $2,000 or $3,000 a cow, and now those cows are worth $500-600. And some of them went bankrupt, and some had to redo their loans and just had all kinds of trouble. But I wanted to give you a little advice on cattle ranching, just my short little tidbit here. People will go to 4 years of agricultural school, and they can get very technical about all this. But I'm going to tell you something. You can spend $10,000, $12,000 a year and go 4 years of college. But in a nutshell, this is very simple. You got to bring in more money than you have going out. If you don't, you'll go broke. Now, there's people that homestead that have went off grid and stuff, but they still got to have money. And those folks still got to have more money coming in than what they have going out. And you're going to need more if you're ranching. It's just like any business. If you have more money going out than what you have coming in, you're going to go broke. And when you go broke, who's going to be there to support you? So in the cattle business, we've got to feed the most economical. We got to be the most frugal. And if you don't adjust your bottom line, I have friends that are farmers that have went out and bought new hay balers, new tractors. I know a guy went out and bought 2 new John Deere tractors, a hay baler, new mowing machine, new rake, and he spent all kinds of money. And then the following year, there was so much hay that he couldn't even get rid of his hay. And he was selling it for like $20, $25 a bale off of his own land. He had fertilized and everything just to get rid of it. Now this year, he tells me things was a little bit better. But whether he sold or not, he still had a bank payment on his equipment. Now, if you can afford to just go out and buy your equipment outright, that's great. That's the best way to do it. But he couldn't. But he invested in it because hay was high, cattle was high. He thought it would never end, and look what's happened now. So just a little bit of advice. If I own my own business too besides cattle, and I can tell you one of the toughest things I've ever learned, if you can go borrow money, but you got to pay it back. So for temporary, it may look like you're making a profit because you're living off of borrowed money. But then when you have to start paying it back, it's not easy. And it's easy to get in debt, but it's a lot harder to pay it back. And you have to pay it whether you're making a profit or not, whether your business is doing good or not. You have to still pay those loans off, and you have to pay to feed the animals. So it's best if you can keep from borrowing money, and it's best if you can stay where you're making a profit. I don't care if you just make $1 for the whole year, that's a profit. Anything more than what it cost you is a profit. And you might say, well, where's my time? Well, some years you might not make your time, but if you cover your overhead expenses, your feed, your hay, and all that stuff. But I'm telling you right now, things are a lot tighter. And I think this is 2019, and I think the next 2 or 3 or 4 years, it could be very tight for the ranchers and the farmers too with this trade stuff. Now the trade might really take off if they get a deal with China and all that. I'm not into the grain crops, but I do follow it. But I'm not no expert for certain, not no expert of that. And I don't claim to be no expert in cattle, but I have figured out one thing: you gotta watch your overhead and don't be leveraged where you owe more than you got coming in, because it will catch up with you and eventually, because we'll have down years and we'll have up years, and I think we've got some down years. As my personal thoughts are that we're going to have a few more down years before we have up years. So just be thinking about that. And if you're wanting to get into cattle business, if you had the money, now would probably be a good time while cows are low priced. But I think a lot of guys are going to start probably getting out. There's a lot of people thought they'd get rich quick. They owe money on their cattle. Some are just now getting them paid off, and some's going to give up with. It's hard to make it, but it's a fun. And I'll tell you, I'm not in it for the money, although I know I have to make a profit. At the end of the year, I at least have to break even, because I have my living made somewhere else if you're dependent on it for your living. But some years I can make a little money for myself, and I like that too. But you've got to bring in more than you got going out. But I'm not going to lose money on the deal. So I keep trying and working and maneuvering and studying, and I keep adjusting my cattle business every year. And this year is a more crucial year for me, I guess, but I have had to really watch my P's and Q's because their cattle just aren't bringing as much as they did. Although I sold some calves this past week, and I was very tickled at what they brought, more than I thought they would, so I'm happy for that. Anyway, hey, just a little bit of cattle update tidbits for you here on the homestead this week, and just a little bit of old country boy's advice. So thanks for listening to me. Well, good morning and welcome to the homestead here. And I sold 7 calves a week ago Wednesday, on the 7th of March, and 2 of them was heifers, the other 5 were steers, and all of them together they averaged a little over 700 a piece. As out of this bunch right here, I've got 8 heifers left, and I'm planning on selling them. They're nice looking heifers, but I'll take them on the next load. We had a little trouble because everything's so muddy getting in and out of here with a big load, so I had to take some little small loads off. But they're coming along pretty good and eating like pigs and getting fat here in March. They're looking good, and they're a little bit muddy and dirty, but that little 104 right there, she'd be a pretty keeper heifer. But I'm going to get rid of these. I've got more than I need, and I think I'm going to sell all these right here and start over. I've already got 9 I've kept this year for replacements, so I'm going to cut my herd down just a little bit. I believe I'm kind of a little overstocked, so I don't want to keep all these heifers through the summer. Plus, some of these is out of first-time cows, heifers, so I don't really like to keep the first-timers. This is the one with the little pink tag, number 2. She's out of a first-timer. That's why her tag's pink. But anyway, brought a little over 700 a piece, and I was pretty tickled about that. The sell prices have been up a little bit. I was only expecting to get around 500 a piece. Instead, I got a little over 7, so I'll certainly take that. These are having Brangus bull, is the daddy to these, an old Brangus bull we called T-Bone. You might have seen some videos with him in it. But T-Bone was a big pretty bull, and the only thing is they will dock you when you bring these things to the sale because of the ears. And he also had horns, just little nubbies like that heifer there's got, and so they dock you for horns too. I've got another one here that's got horns, but that's about as big as his ever got, so I don't really mind those little old nubs. Ain't no big deal. This one's got some, sure enough, little nubbies on her head. They'll probably get a little bigger, but I didn't dehorn them because I thought I might keep them and didn't really care about that, but I'm gonna sell them and it'll be what it is. But I'm hoping to pretty soon now. March and April around here is a pretty good time to sell stuff that's big enough to go out on grass for stock or for feeder animals. So anyway, there's a little update off the homestead on the cattle here. Hey, I want to thank you this morning for tuning in here on Cedar Creek Homestead, and for this week on Cedar Creek Homestead. I sure appreciate you watching. If you'd be so kind as to give us a thumbs up if you like the video. I don't want you to lie, but if you did like something on the video, if you give me a thumbs up, I'd certainly appreciate it. And if you'd subscribe to our channel, if you've not subscribed already, if you would, that certainly helps grow our channel here. I'm just a little small-time channel, but that does help us out. And I want to say also, I pray that God will bless you, that he'll keep you this week. And if you're not a servant of the Lord, I pray that you will become one before it's too late, and that you'll find Jesus as your Lord and Savior. I'm also a minister, and I can't help but just put this in. I think the way the times is right now, that we're certainly in trying times, and we certainly need the Lord, and we need his help. And I don't know what I would do without the Lord. But anyway, I certainly appreciate you tuning in this week. Hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next Thursday here at Cedar Creek Homestead. God bless you. Have a great day. We're gone.